Only a skeleton crew. Charles and Diana had remained behind, so we loaded up the shuttle and set the consul to release the prisoners in about an hour. And as I sat down at the helm, Tamret by my side, I had Charles and Diana sitting behind me, and I directed the members of the selection committee to buckle up towards the back. I wanted them far enough away that I wouldn't have to make conversation. I wasn't up to it, not least because the controls were completely unfamiliar to me, and I didn't want them to see how clueless we were. Fortunately, it occurred to Tamret to overlay a holographic projection from her data bracelet, so in about 5 minutes we'd figured out how to operate the shuttle, at least well enough to get us to the cruiser. "Let's get out of here," I said, trying to sound confident. With me working secondary stations, Tamret took the helm and eased the shuttle out of the hangar. We hovered for a moment and then pointed it towards the sky. She handled it nicely considering she'd never operated a phatic ship before. It was only 30 seconds after we took off that my data bracelet chirped to indicate an incoming message.
"Zeke, what is your status?"
It was Captain Quassel. "Just departed," I told her.
"Our sensors have picked up a phatic cruiser. We think a much larger one. It's tunneling in now. We're about 100 seconds from aperture."
"We need 6 minutes to rendezvous." I swore more loudly and vividly than I'd meant to in front of my father and the captain. "We could try to hold them off," Tamret said. "No," I said. I'd already reviewed the weapons and shields, and I knew there was no way a shuttle like this could last more than a few seconds against a fully armored cruiser. I held up my hand. I needed a moment to think. I had to figure out how we could get the stolen cruiser back to the Confederation without using ourselves as simply a distraction. I wanted to get the ship to the good guys, but I didn't want to be left behind for that to happen. And I wasn't going to let Tamret fall into their hands. There was no way I was letting my father be recaptured less than half an hour after his escape. But no matter how long I thought about it, I knew we were expendable. Nothing mattered as much as getting the new dependable back to the Confederation space. That was what was going to turn everything around for the good guys, but I didn't want to have to fall into enemy hands to make that happen. So how could I do it? I had almost no training and much less experience. All the nanites improvements weren't going to help me if I was so drastically outgunned. What did I possibly have that was going to tip the balance here? Tamret had tweaked the game, but I wasn't in God mode. I could still be killed. In the end, despite all the improved abilities, I was just a dork who liked science fiction. And that might be what was going to save me.
"You're grinning,"
Tamret said. "Yes, I am." I cut the line on my data bracelet and opened a channel to the dependable via the shuttle's comm system. "Captain, you need to get that ship to the Confederation, but I think I have a way you can do it without leaving us behind. Tunnel out now, but don't go far. Make them think you're heading for home. Then turn around and come back here in exactly 4 minutes. Return to exactly the same place where you departed. I'll know where to find you then. By the time you pop in, they'll have gone after you in hopes of overtaking you when you come out of the station."
"Do you think that they'll attack us in Confederation space?"
the captain asked. "All they're going to care about at that point is making sure the Confederation doesn't get its hands on a fully functioning cruiser. They won't be worried about surviving or ramifications."
"That could work," the captain said. "Executing now. Good luck, Zeke."
I looked back at my passengers. "It's a good plan," my father said, speaking very slowly. "But I wonder if you've considered Regulation 46A. That was my father, the man I remembered, the man I'd come to rescue. Whatever anger I'd felt towards him for leaving us had now vanished. He had just watched me make what he believed to be a colossal blunder. But even though he was sure I'd just placed all our lives in jeopardy, he wasn't willing to embarrass me in front of the rest of the committee and my friends. He was more worried about my feelings than his own life, and I knew at that moment that whatever he'd done for the right reasons. And that his decision had cost him more than I could easily imagine. Regulation 46A, like his proposed name for the stolen ship, came from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, his favorite science fiction film of all time. The regulation was a little more than a plot device to trick Kirk's enemies, and the audience into thinking the Enterprise was more seriously damaged than it was. Now in command of the stolen vessel, the only audience I needed to deceive was the enemy. I turned to my father and quoted, which was no problem since we'd watched the movie together about a dozen times. If transmissions are being monitored during battle, no uncoded message on an open channel. Dad, not only did I not forget about 46A, I'm counting on it. Our lives at this point depended on a scheme I was stealing from Star Trek II. Well, if you're gonna put us in the hands of a Star Trek movie, might as well be 2, he said. Or 4, have you considered a slingshot around the sun to take us back in time? We both laughed hysterically, and then I activated my data bracelet. It was time to tell the captain the real plan.